Hey you guys, welcome back to my channel. My name's Justine and today we're in my greenhouse. I want to show you how I start and up pot my tomatoes from seed. You can see I have this a 4-inch pot here, and these are some beefsteak tomatoes. What I've done here is I have just put all of one variety of tomato in one pot, and I'm actually going to show you how I do it from seed. I'm gonna go ahead and open up a seed packet, put it in a pot, and show you how I put them in, and then I'm gonna dump this out and I'm gonna show you how I up pot them. So I feel that this is a little bit more efficient, just because I know exactly how many containers I'm gonna need. I know exactly how much potting soil I'm gonna need, how many tags. So let me show you how I start these and do it this way. So these are just some little cups that I got off of Amazon. They're super flimsy, super thin, but they're gonna work for me in my garden. They work. I have my tomato seeds. This is Alice's dream. I've never grown these before. I'm super excited to try them. They look super cool. All right, so I've got my container. I've got my seeds. This soil is already pre-moistened, so it is pretty moist on the top. And then I'm going to open up the seed packet. And I've already started some out of this, so there's not a ton of seeds left. But I am just going to and it's okay if they're sewn close together, because like I said, we're going to separate them out. And I wish that there was more seeds in this pack to show you. They're kind of stuck to the side in there. But you can see the seeds. I hope you guys can see that okay. The smaller the seed, the shallower it's gonna get planted. That is a tomato seed. Super, super tiny. So they do not need to be planted very deep under the soil at all. They have just enough energy in them to make their way to the top of the soil. And if you plant them too deep, they might not have enough energy to push themselves up out of the soil. Okay, so that is exactly how I did this. I put my seeds in there, I put my plant label in, and then they've sprouted. I believe that I'm already done a lot of these. The trays behind me, I think I'm up to 200 tomato plants, and I still have quite a few left of these containers. I don't really have the best setup in my greenhouse this year. We just got it, and it was a necessity to get it up so I could start my seeds, and I'm really not worried about shelves this year. I just wanted to have somewhere to put my seeds. I'm gonna show you this as best as I can. I think it's really important because, you know, I was talking to a friend that came over and looked at the garden. People who are just starting growing things and starting seeds, this stuff isn't common sense. You have to learn it. So don't ever feel, there's never a dumb question. Ask. It's totally okay to not know this stuff. I still do things wrong, and I think this is like my 5th season gardening. I've kind of had a garden on and off since I was 18. I'm 27 now, and there's still plenty of things I do wrong. My friend Taylor is my go-to garden friend. She's been consistently gardening in a greenhouse for 5 or 6 years now. She is full of knowledge, and we text every single day, and I ask her about stuff every day. So always ask. Don't just expect to know this stuff, because it truly is learned. Right, this is a different cup. This is not the same cup I just put those tomatoes in. What I'm gonna do, I'm gonna poke a hole down in this container. Yes, you don't want to break your plants, but they're really pretty forgiving. So I just dump them over, tap the bottom, pull them back up, and split them like this. I'll split them again. And just kind of tease them. You don't want to, you know, completely just annihilate them. I just kind of tease. There's a tomato right there with all the roots. Now I want to show you guys something. Other things don't necessarily benefit from planting them deeply, but on this tomato, and I don't know if the camera's going to focus enough for you, but on the tomato you'll see little bitty hair fibers, and those are going to be roots. Those are baby roots. So planting a tomato deep, even when you're planting out in the garden, is really beneficial because it just is going to make that much more root system. So put all your roots down in the hole. I bury it. Hope you guys can see okay. I'm going to bury it. Just like that. And now that's going to take off. It's crazy to see how much they grow like right after you transplant them. So you can kind of see these are starting to get some more of their true leaves. The true leaves are the ones that come up after the first two initial leaves. Those are called cotyledons. I think that's how you say it, cotyledons. This is what they look like after you get them all put in their own little cells. I did these a few days ago, and they're really starting to take off. Something else I want to talk about while I'm doing this, actually, I'm gonna run and get another tray really fast so I can be doing this while I'm talking. This tray's actually been sitting outside, so it's pretty wet. We've got quite a bit of rain in the last couple days. Bless you. This potting mix, it was just something I could get my hands on. I only have a few trays of this potting mix, thank goodness, because I don't really like it. It was just a cheap brand that I could get at the time. And there's a lot of like wood chips in it. Probably not very good to start seeds in because these wood chips right here can really hinder like your seed germinating coming up through the potting mix. My friend Ashley came over the other day and she was kind of asking me some questions. And she is starting her own seeds this year for the first time, and she was just asking me a couple things. She asked me like when she should start her cucumbers and her squash and stuff like that inside. And really, this stuff is pretty confusing. I mean, it really can be confusing to the new gardener, but I don't want it to be discouraging. You learn every year, you learn every time you do it. You just kind of learn what plants like and what plants don't like to be moved around and transplanted. And the more research and the more times you do it, you just learn. But tomatoes and peppers and stuff like that, they really need to be started early to get a head start because they take so long to come to fruition. Cucumbers and squash and melons, those things grow really fast. So like I still haven't, our estimated last frost date is April 29th and it's April 3rd. And I still have not started my cucumbers. Honestly, I don't know that I'm going to. Those things do very well direct sown. Cucumbers and melons and squash, and they really don't like their roots to be disturbed. Now, that being said, my friend Taylor, she has always started her squash from seed. She swears by it. She said she has never had an issue with them being stunted. They really don't like getting root bound, which means when you start them from seed and you put them in a pot that's too small, they just grow so fast and their roots have nowhere to go. So when you take a plant out of a pot and all the roots are just completely circled, it really needs to be transplanted out. And for some things, that's not a big deal. But for some things like squash that don't like their roots to be disturbed, that is a big deal. And it can really stunt their growth and they just never grow right after that. She has never had an issue with that. Maybe it's because she doesn't allow hers to get root bound. I know that she up pots pretty frequently. Another point I want to bring to that is I have a 10 by 12 greenhouse and I don't have a whole lot of bigger pots, and I don't want to go buy a ton of potting mix. So for me, those things grow so fast and take off so quickly in the spring when you plant them directly in the ground. I'm not going to waste the resources. I'm not going to waste the space. I'm not going to waste the containers, the potting mix. Now, Taylor, she has an abundance of pots, and they make their own potting mix, so it's very doable for her, and that's great. And if you have all of that, I totally encourage you to try it. But for me, it's just not feasible right now. So Ashley, I'm using her for an example. She asked me, when should she start her things? And, with your tomatoes and your peppers, so peppers, they say start 8 to 10 weeks before your average last frost date. Whereas if you were to start cucumbers and melons and squash, you would start them 4 weeks before. So 8 to 10 weeks and 4 weeks, that's a huge difference. But the reason why is because those grow so fast. If you were to start a squash plant indoors 8 to 10 weeks before your last frost date, it would be massive. I mean, you would have to have a really big pot. They could stay in a little cup like this, but they're gonna be so root bound and they're not gonna have the nutrients they need in this little pot. Now I am gonna start a couple cucumbers, but I probably will just direct sow a lot of those also. And that's just because I have, you can see behind me, I have a lot of plants already in here. It's just as easy for me to go stick that seed in the ground and let it grow and just worry about what I have right now, than to start more plants, use more potting mix. My friend Samantha, this is also her first year of starting seeds, and I am so tickled and absolutely love that you girls starting your seeds and doing your gardens this year. I think it's great. There's never been a better time to start and learn. She started quite a few things in cups. I think for the most part that it worked out really well for her. She asked me about peas, and some people start peas inside and have had great success with it, and some people say that peas don't really like to be messed with. Some people say no, some people say yes, but try it for yourself. Try it and see how it works out for you. And you know, your peppers, your tomatoes, your eggplants, your herbs, all that stuff needs started pretty early on. And you know, when I say about the squash and the cucumbers and stuff, if you live in a place where you don't have a very long growing season, you might almost have to start that stuff so that you can get a head start and have plenty of harvest off of that. But where you have longer growing seasons, I think that for me it just makes more sense to just sow those outside rather than waste waste the resources, waste the money on potting mix, waste the money on more pots and bigger pots that I have to transplant. And honestly, it's just making more work for yourself whenever you have to transplant those squash and those cucumbers up into larger areas. And like I said, Taylor has done that and she has always had great success with it, and I'm not knocking that at all if that's, you know, the way you like to do it. Keep on keeping on doing you. But for me, you know, there's just things that work for different people, and that's totally fine. Gardening is one big experiment, and that's why I love it, because every year you get to try something new. You know, you get to do things different, try something new, and there's no right or wrong way to do it. You can do it however you want, and I really love that about gardening. Anyway, I'm just sitting here looking out of my greenhouse door. It's a really beautiful day. It's 80 degrees in the greenhouse. I have sweat rolling down my back. I want to show you where I'm looking right now because I cleaned out my asparagus bed the other day. I can see diamonds in the rough. I don't know if you can too, but I want you to look at this. And it's kind of a mess because my husband, oh my sweet husband, put up the rest of the privacy fence on this side of our yard yesterday. Isn't it just beautiful? The pear tree is blooming. I cleaned out the asparagus bed, which we had a few asparagus, by the way. I put my table out here, the privacy fence is done, and I'm really thinking about moving these buckets. Well, I wanted to move those buckets anyway into my greenhouse and plant flowers all right here because this seating area, just seeing the garden, and I want to plant flowers all right here on the greenhouse, and on the back is just going to be beautiful. I did a video planting some seeds in the garden the other day, and a lot of that stuff is coming up. Let's go look at it real quick. I have dirt all over me. Hi! These plants. I had an unfortunate event right there. A dog actually got into my greenhouse. It was a great time. Okay, let's look at this stuff. So I'm really learning about cameras and such. So I've turned my microphone around, so hopefully you guys can hear me a little bit better. Okay, so in this bed right here, this whole first little section is onions, all onions. And you can really see them coming up right there. And I tried to do rows, so I'm really hoping that they'll all come up in rows. All right, that's my bad behavior. I left my scissors out here. Right here, flashy butter gem lettuce, and I did a row of those. Then I did a row of May Queen, I believe. And then these are something, maybe Rocky Top lettuce blend. To be honest, I don't remember what those are. I'll have to look back at my picture. I try to do rows. Sometimes in raised beds, rows don't work out too well because of the rain. Okay, these are carrots. And I'm pretty sure that these are carrots right here germinating. I'm pretty sure those are carrots coming up. I really hope they are because I've never successfully done carrots. All right, here's my bed of brassicas. And guys, it got down to 28 the other night, and these took a hard hit. I did not get out here and cover them with a blanket. So this is cabbage and broccoli, and man, did they get some damage. I ran out here when I seen all the frost. It was like 7 in the morning. And my husband came out here with me, and I grabbed the watering can and I filled it with water, and before the sun hit it, I started watering everything. They say if you water it before the sun hits it and warms it up, it's kind of like gradually warming it up. I think it's the cell walls in the plant just burst when it freezes like that, and that's what damages it and kills it. So if you gradually kind of thaw it out instead of just letting the sun hit, you stay out of my bed. Right, so here all this is spinach. I tried to do rows as best as I could. So they're getting pretty big. Now this is just where I direct seeded, and I did try to thin them out. I wish I probably should have thinned these out a little bit more. Might have to do that pretty soon. And then here's some, I think this is a Rocky Top lettuce. I think Rocky Top lettuce as well. I think I did 2 or 3 rows of Rocky Top lettuce. Flashy butter gem, I believe. These are radishes. Those are coming up really good. And radishes right there. Oh wow, there's some more. Those have just popped up. Radishes, and then this whole area right here is little kale. And these are magnolia tendril peas. Those are beautiful when they bloom. And these are sugar daddy snap peas. Those are really nice too. Just leaving stuff wherever I go. Gotta get better about that. Oh, let me show you one more thing. Look at the pear tree. That pear tree is gorgeous. I just think that's so pretty. Anyway, I'm really wanting to do something for the walkway in my garden from the garden beds to the greenhouse. So if you guys have any suggestions, let me know. I'm really trying to decide. Are you getting tired? Are you getting tired? Okay guys, this wasn't a super long video, but I hope it was helpful. And if you guys have questions, don't ever feel like there is a silly question. Please ask someone that's gardened for a little while. Do your research. Read a book, listen to a podcast about gardening. There's a lot of good ones out there. Until next time, you guys, from one gardener to another. See you guys in the next one.